Okay, guys, welcome back to class. It's week 6, day 3. Today we're going to be talking about two different frameworks or packages called Jest and Enzyme. Okay, who here can read this? What does that say?
Airbnb
Yes. What does that mean?
is a website.
Yeah. Okay, but tell me something else. Tell me something that you think when you read Airbnb here.
So they use that, so they make it.
Yeah, they built it. This is something built by Airbnb. So, it's specifically built to test our React applications. Okay? There's a whole, man, there are books written on testing. So, this is something you guys are going to have to learn sometime later in your career. We're going to do it just a little bit today so that you guys have an idea of what testing is. Okay? So, for example, you guys remember Moment.js? If you guys look at Moment.js, in order to build this application, to translate it into all the different languages and all the different formats that are possible, right? They had to write tests to make sure that whenever they applied some new code, they refactored, they didn't break what was currently working. And let's look at how many tests they wrote. So they have a different test package individually written in a certain language and tested across all the languages. So in order to get Moment.js to work, they had to write 140,000 unique tests. And today we're going to write like 10. And the truth is, I'm actually going to show you something in a second, is that right now we can't even write all the types of tests that we need to write using hooks. Well, there are trade-offs, okay? There are trade-offs right here. So let's just put it this way. So right here, you guys can look at Airbnb, their open source package, Enzyme. Your technical lead already read this for you. What your technical lead is going to tell you is that this does not work correctly using hooks. So your company now has two decisions. It has a choice to make. Do you rewrite all your code in class-based components, or do you move on and skip testing for now? That's the decision you guys make at your company. If you guys are CEO, and you want to move quick, then you might skip testing. If you get $1 billion in funding and you want to build the next Microsoft, well, then you might build your own testing framework. I don't know. Okay, so this is all about no one really knows how much you're gonna test. Depends on where you work. That's what I'm trying to tell you, right? So just know that right now, a lot of the things in our old homework assignment that we were going to test are untestable using hooks. Our only other solution would have been to write everything in class-based components. So your technical lead made another decision. We're just going to cover testing just a little bit today and test the behavior of our application, okay? Do you have any questions so far? Okay. 1 second, let me see one more thing. Twitter. Here it is. Brought to you by the great Dan Ambermoff once again.
When you say test, I mean, what does it do? Run through multiple different scenarios on your site?
Exactly, yeah. It just tests our application to do something, okay? And I'm going to show you that I built. So this is an amazing app. Hold on. It's incredible. Notice what happens when I load the app. Can someone describe to me the app? Like a programmer. Tell me like a programmer what's going on here.
There's an H1.
Yes.
There's a button.
Damn, girl.
Say-
I believe you, girl. I believe you know what you're talking about.
That means when you click on the button, the number 1 on the page is going to increase.
It's fucking incredible. I'm impressed. You forgot one thing, but that's my fault, actually. I should have given it another header. Okay, so what Tung just did is she made some assertions about the app. She looked in the app and she made some assertions. She's like, all right, there's probably an H1 there. There seems to be a count and there's a button. So test-driven development, like I said, this is own school of thought, man. There's a whole Wikipedia page on it, and there are books written on this. If you guys want to look, there's just so many different types of testing, man. There's like penetration testing, there's integration testing, there's security testing, there's stress testing. There's all types of different testing that you can perform on your applications for different types of unique situations. And there's acceptance testing here. There's also a whole list right here. Okay, so just know that like in this class, we're not going to show you everything, but I'm going to show you the nitty gritty that you kind of have an idea of what it's used for. Okay. Okay, so does this application work? Let's start here. Does this application work? Who here thinks it works? I click this button, the number goes up. It does in fact work. Okay. What you see here on the left is called a test suite. This is a screen that you run in your terminal. Okay? It will actually perform, when you run this application, right, you run it, it just lives, kind of like your server, right? You know how sometimes you just turn on your server, it just sits there, it does something for a little bit? That's what your test suite is. So we're gonna open up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it up, and then afterwards, when we're inside of our project, we're gonna run yarn run tests. And then our test suite will live there and just simply run our tests and say that everything works fine. Okay? Before we move on from this, notice how every test is passing. And in fact, the behavior is passing. Oops, I stopped my server. It's working. The test suite is working. Could someone help me break this? I want to break it. I don't want it to work anymore when I click that button. Someone tell me in code, man. What do I do?
Maybe just take away some of the brackets. And do that stuff.
I only want the on click to stop working. I don't want to break the entire application. Huh?
Okay.
What can I change?
Change the function.
Which one? Tell me in line.
Well, you can change line 6, line 7, essentially.
I'm just going to not set the count. Just forget about the count whenever we click it. You guys will now notice that my test suite complains. It's like, oh, this isn't working. You broke something. Now let's look at our count. Who here thinks that this will work? It does not work, sorta. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a user interface, this thing on the left, that tells us when we broke something in our code. That is the end objective, okay? Does anyone have any questions? All right, so I'm gonna stop this. I fixed the test suite by uncommenting it. So we're going to go ahead and create a new application from the beginning. You get an app. You get an app. You get an app. Anyone here know what I'm talking about? It's a show. Does anyone here know what I'm talking about? Does no one here knows what I'm talking about? Oprah, you get a car. This woman's famous in America, man. She has a show and they just talk about stuff, right? And and then one day she gave everyone in the audience a car. I think they all got a car, man. Come on, what are you complaining about? You gotta pay taxes and all that. Is my internet not working? I'm confused. Is my internet not working? What? Fuck. I can't click the. Where's the thing?
It's okay. I mean, Oprah Winfrey gives away cars.
Okay, yeah, just basically just know that like she gave the entire audience. Imagine like 100 people. She gave everyone a car. She just ran around and just like, hey, car, you get a car, you get a car. You guys are all getting apps.
Thanks, though.
Yeah.
You could do the same with domains.
Okay, so we got a problem though.
You get a domain. You get a domain.
What? What are you talking about right now? I'm confused.
You don't get the joke? So there's this talk show called Oprah Winfrey.
Uh-huh.
And then she gave away cars.
What?
Instead of cars, you can just give us domains.
I'm just playing.
Durians?
Domain.
Oh, domains. Okay. Alright. Okay, so we're here now. We're in our application. Let's go ahead and run this bad boy. Actually, no, my bad. Where did I put this? Let's set up our application, okay? I need you guys to copy and paste some code. Here's the command. You guys can Google it if you want, but I'm telling you, I wrote it down for you. So this we're installing this this library called Enzyme. Enzyme is the library that's going to help us find shit on the screen. Okay, it has the responsibility of just finding stuff. Just find the H1, find the component, etc. And then there's something called Enzyme Adaptive React 16, which basically makes Enzyme work with React. Additionally, after you run this command and you set up your app, you need to create a new file. It's called setup.test.js. I think that's what it's called. Setup.test.js. You have to name it this. You cannot name it anything else. It's expecting to find this file inside of your source folder. If you do not do that, then you will run into problems. We're gonna paste this code in, which basically sets up our Enzyme environment. Okay. Now we're gonna copy over this command, npm run test, or you can just do yarn run test. And you will see that it runs, it tests our test suite. Okay? I'm not expecting that. I was expecting it to do one thing. What the hell? What? It should give me one passing test. What the hell? Okay, there you go. You gotta press A. It's super interactive, okay? So just run yarn run test. And then you can run additional commands. Like I said, this is a whole, like, people teach classes and write books on just testing. So this is a huge field. So you can configure it all different ways. You guys read through the options and play around with it. Okay. One day there are some people that get paid money just to write tests. Put it that way. They would just go to work all day and write tests. So I'm going to run all the tests, and you guys will see that we already have one passing test. Where did this thing come from? It came from a file called app.test.js. By default, React will generate this file for you when you create your template. This is an example test, and it's trying to show you how to write a test. So here's the minimum viable product for writing a test right here, okay? You gotta have these libraries. You gotta import the component, and you've gotta use this syntax right here. This will be in every single Create React project that you create. If you look in all your old Create React projects, it already exists. Does anyone have any questions? So let's look at the signature of this right here. Can someone tell me what's going on line 5 through 9?
You have a function where you were saying that.
What's the biggest thing that we're doing? What's the biggest thing that we're doing? No, what's simpler than that? My bad, I don't know if I'm describing this right. What's the simplest thing that it's doing right there? Huh? Nope. We're calling it a function. What's the name of this function? It. We're calling it a function called it. How many arguments does this function take? What's the first argument? What's the second argument? A function. That's exactly what we're doing. We're calling one argument. The first argument is a string. The second argument is a function. Okay? So let's go ahead and write ourselves. This is the simpler version of a code. Okay? First we have a simple one-page test, and then we have a file, right? And now we have a single call to a single function. So now let's go ahead and write another test. We're going to call this function it. We're going to pass it a string, and then we're going to go ahead and pass it a function. That's the second argument. So what is this going to test? Let's test to make sure that we have a heading on our application. Okay, we're going to say it has a heading. And guys, I know this may be confusing, but this is how you're supposed to write tests, okay? You're supposed to write them, you fail them first. One day when you guys study testing more, I don't know, like if you do, there's a million other things you guys can do other than writing tests and still make money and still be happy, right? I want you guys to do something that makes you happy, for real. So I don't like writing tests, okay? I don't like writing tests, I'll tell you the truth. But you may do it. Anyway, that being said, is that like there's this concept in testing where you write the test first, you make your application fail, and then you fix it. So right now we're going to write a test, we're going to fail it, and then afterwards we're going to make it work. Okay, so in order to fail a test, we have to do something called an assertion, right? So we're going to expect something. We're going to say, hey, I expect this to be true or false. So in order to do this, we call the function expect, but we need to pass it an argument. The argument is an assertion. So so let's just say, fuck, I don't remember syntax. Jest, enzyme. Fuck, I'm just gonna cheat. I'm looking at my old code, okay? Move quick. Oh my bad. Let's start simpler. Fuck. Damn, dude. Let's forget about this, okay? Let's create one more test. No. Trust.
What's going on?
We're gonna test something, okay? We're gonna test a component first. We're gonna create something called sum.test.js.
There's a name matter.
Say again? You can write any name you want, but I'm gonna create a different file, and then we're just gonna do something with this. Okay, we're gonna create a final function. We're gonna say A and B. Expect sum to be. Okay. So we're gonna do test. Same signature. Expect that what we're gonna test our sum function. Okay. Expect. What's sum to equal 3 if given 1 and 2. Okay. If given. So I'm gonna say expect sum 1 and 2 to be 3. So why is this failing? So why is this failing? Why does this say fail right here? Okay, how can we fix that? This is the simplest test we can write right here, okay? I guess we could write one more. Let's do one that can assert that it multiplies, okay? Can someone help me do that? Multiplies. Okay, so we're gonna write a test. Can someone help me? Test. Then we gotta give it a string that describes what it's doing, okay? We're gonna say it multiplies multiplies to 6 if given 2 and 3, right? Because 2 times 3 is 6, right? Is that true? 2 times 3 is 6. Think this. Should I Google this, guys? Can someone help me? Should I Google this? I'm gonna Google, okay? 2 times 3. Who thinks this is gonna be true? 6. I'm not sure. Alright, let's confirm. I want you guys blaming me later if anything goes wrong. 2 times 3. Hold on, I got a calculator here too. Hold on. I just want to make sure, man. I'm gonna write this test. I'm gonna prove to you guys this works. 2 times 3, 6. All right, yeah. Okay, so it multiplies to 6 if given 2 and 3. So how can we write a test that tests this, guys? Can someone please explain to me, how can I write a test that tests my multiplies function on line 10? Three, 2b, 6. Did I save it? Whoa. What happened?
You're returning A plus B.
Oh shit, fuck. Thank you. This is incredible, okay? This is an incredible technology that we have available. So anyway, this is how we write tests on our application, okay? We're gonna prove that this thing works correctly. And that way later on, when someone comes and joins your team and they decide, you know what, I want sum to also work with 3 values, and I also want sum to, you know, always have a default of 4, that it actually, it doesn't break your code, right? It doesn't break what's already been working. Every single one of you guys have ran into this problem. I forgot to show you this, my bad. This guy. It's painful, man. I've been there. I know how it feels. Okay, you fix one thing and everything just turns around and it's just horrible. Yeah, so that's actually okay, yeah, stay focused here. That's why we built this tool right here. This is not fun. Okay, writing tests is not fun. I want to build beautiful apps. I want to build a lot of sexy features. But in order to build quality software, you have to write tests, right? And that's why we want this UI, because we don't want to be this guy right here, where we're constantly switching code. Our code base is like 20,000 lines code, and like we changed one thing, we broke something else. Okay, that's the objective. Okay, so I showed you the simplest version. Okay, another thing, right? By default, whenever you run yarn run test, it will run every single test in your application. Okay. So how many tests do we have right now? Like 2, right? Something like that.
You have the original one as well, so you have 3.
3, yeah. Okay, let's fix this. Okay, so now we have 3 passing tests, okay? You can test any function that you write this way. Obviously, you can test your components. That's actually the main objective right now, right? We're not just gonna be writing little functions, we're gonna test our components as well. So let's go ahead and go back to the original thing, and we're gonna go back to it. You can use both syntaxes. We'll just say it renders and h1, okay? And we're gonna write a little function, and then somewhere in there needs to be an expect. So we're gonna say we expect something called a wrapper. We're gonna say, hey, this wrapper, we're gonna say it contains an h1 to be.
Wrapper is a syntax?
Yes. No. Give me a second. I'm gonna fix that.
Yeah.
So if you guys see, if I leave this here, now it's gonna complain that wrapper does not exist, right? So we need to define it, and I don't remember how to do this, so I'm gonna look at the documentation, summary example here. So we gotta import shallow. We're gonna use one of these packages. Remember how I told you a second ago that Enzyme is a package that helps us find things on the screen? Well, this is what it's about to do. Okay, we're about to find that app on the screen. So we're gonna say const wrapper is equal to shallow. We call the function, and then we give it our app like that. I think that works. Save it. See if this works. Okay, so now it's complaining about to configure an adapter you should do. I actually don't know why this pop-up shows up sometimes, because we already did this step. To configure an adapter, you should call enzyme.configure. Right? And where did we do that? Right here. Oh, I know how to do it. I'll click debug and see if this fixes it. You guys may need to download this plugin. I forgot what it's called. Hold on. To make this work correctly. Jest. VS Code. Okay. The plugin went away. The complaint went away. So as soon as I clicked debug mode, it's just constantly running my test, I believe. So why does it say, why is it complaining right now? We wrote a test, we looked at our app component, and we expected that it should contain an H1. We expected that to be true. And we see that our test is throwing an error. So why is that throwing an error?
So I'm likely to have an H1 in the app.
If we look at our app,
If the test is written in the way I think it is, however.
and we look at our app, do we have an H1?
No.
Amazing. We do not have an H1. So what we can do is add one. And I suspect that this test will pass. Oops. Why does this not work?
Contain.
When is it? How do you make that test run?
It's just constantly running. It's just constantly running it. Remember, it's living right here. It's just constantly gonna run it for us. We're gonna use this package. It's gonna run it for us. Okay, so now I'm a bit confused. So I'm going to look at my O test. Did I do this wrong? Camera. Okay, I think I always forget the syntax. You guys gotta look at the documentation. It's impossible to remember all this stuff.
I was
Because
thinking H1 is in
Oh, there it goes. It works. Yeah. Okay, so I hope you guys can see this. Why is it now not complaining? Why?
It looks for the exact information. It's not in a different syntax.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole bunch of rules to it, man. To be honest with you, I don't remember them all. If you want me to lie to you and tell you I remember them all, I can do that, but I don't want to do that. So let's just run test. Let's see if I can run it out here. So this only runs it once. You guys will all see different behavior. So just know that right now we're just gonna run a single test. What was the one test that we just wrote? Okay. So what's the next thing we need to do to test our application? Yes, we need to make sure that it has a number somewhere in there, right? So we're gonna say it renders a number 1 when it starts. Okay. So we wrote a thing that describes it, and once again, we pass a second argument. So we're gonna say we expect, and we need to set this up every single time exactly the same. Well, not exactly the same, depends. Because sometimes you're gonna have to set up like API requests and stuff like that. So we're gonna say wrapper.find I forgot the syntax in this one again. I forgot the syntax, so I expect you guys to be Googling this. Enzyme find. Okay? No one is gonna remember this. So we find something by a class. Okay. Yeah. So we say, where am I? Oops. Okay, so we're gonna find something by the class, and that I expect that thing to have some text in it. Now I forgot how this one works, so I'm just gonna do text. We'll click text here, and then we'll say to equal. Yeah, that's right. So what's the text we're looking for again? I forgot. Okay, so we're gonna find something called foo with the class of foo, right? We're gonna say this is a h3. My bad. So let's watch it fail first, okay? So it's failing right here. Oops. Method text is meant to be run on one node, 0 node found. So it's complaining right now. It's saying, hey, you gotta run text on something that you find. So the test is failing. So we're gonna uncomment this, and we're gonna give a class name of count. Now I changed my mind. I don't want to call that foo. I want to call it count. Come on, baby. Okay, I think this syntax is wrong. This documentation is old. Pretty sure. Come on, baby. What?
That's a good test. That's
Oh, did it work? Yeah. Expected important. Receive nothingness. So our test is written correctly, right? But why is this throwing an error? Because we want it to do what when the app first loads? Let's think about this.
It's not showing an error. The test is not showing.
Okay, yeah. What do we want this app to do, man? This is not a complicated app, guys. It needs to have a number there, right? Right? So we can put a 0 there. And then afterwards, we're going to put a 0 right here. If I put a 0 here, will this work? Will this test pass?
Only if it's in the string, perhaps.
I don't know, man. Let's test it. And we see it pass. So we proved by writing a test first that if we wrote a test first that asserted something on the screen, we could fail it and say like, hey man, your app has to do this. It has to do this for it to function correctly. Okay? If that did not work correctly, then the test would fail. After we actually did that, we found that it worked correctly. Okay? So now we're going to implement the next test. We're going to say, and I'm probably going to break after this one. Well, no, it's only been 30 minutes. Let me show you like 2 or 3 more tests. Okay? Because this thing right here, like testing is something you can't practice. So we're going to say it renders a button. Okay? It renders a button. So we're gonna do our behavior where we define a, we kind of find the app component on the screen, and then we're gonna expect that wrapper dot finds. Once again, I forgot the syntax. It depends on what you're trying to find. So you gotta look at other examples. Okay, so I think you can just target whatever it is, right? So I'm gonna say, we're gonna find something called a button, right? And we're gonna say that to have length of 3. So we're gonna say, I want the wrapper, I'm gonna find a button there, 2, 5. The syntax is wrong. This documentation is old, I'm pretty sure, because this is gonna throw an error if I do this. So we're telling our app that when the app loads, we expect to see a button there. Cannot read properties have of undefined. This is deprecated. You're not allowed to use the syntax anymore. Fuck. Let me see that. Class element tag. Okay, we're using element tag. Dot find my component. Dot finds. Fuck. Alright, let's just give an ID a button. I didn't want to do that, but whatever. To exist. There's many different techniques in this. You guys gotta read the documentation. So we say exists, wrapper.exists. Okay, this is it. This is it right here. My bad, guys. Okay. Expect wrapper to equal. Oop. Okay, so we're gonna look inside a wrapper, and then we're gonna find some class, something called some class. We're gonna make sure it works. Okay? Can someone help me fix this test? It expected this to be true, but it received false.
Put an H6 with the class name, some class, some random class.
Nice. I think that will work. And damn, fucking Ed, you're on fire today, man. Okay, so let's do this the correct way. What were we trying to do? What do we need here, guys? If we want to build this amazing app that I demoed just a few minutes ago, what else do I need? Yes, so we're gonna change this to a button. Okay, so we're gonna say, instead of some class, we're just gonna call this a button. Okay, that's the button. True, true. Okay, so now we proved that, what? Where that exists. Why does this not work? Okay, sometimes it just throws an error, complains for no reason. So now we're gonna do it, and then we're gonna.
Is that really a test that it runs a button? Because the truth is, you could have put that button as H6. That's not actually testing it runs a button. That's testing if.
Oh, there's something with the class or button. Yeah.
That's not really the same thing.
So what this Ed just talked about was what we call like bad testing, bad test. You know, this is a whole problem that we have sometimes. If you don't write a test, it's never possible to test all the correct situations that can occur. And it will kill your company if you try to write tests from the beginning, in my personal opinion. When Mark Zuckerberg was founding Facebook, he wasn't in there writing tests like, oh yeah, I can add a lot of different friends. You know, he was building it and making it work. And at the end of the day, man, you guys can test it yourselves. Okay, you guys are people, you guys are building it. You guys test it yourselves. You guys are doing this manually, and yes, that sucks. But writing tests is also a huge commitment on behalf of your company, blah, blah, blah. You know, like I know for you, Ed, you said that you don't want to be a dev, you want to do your own thing or something. Just know, like, this is something that takes a lot of time. You know, and when you write a test to prove that something works, right? As soon as you change it, now all your tests will start failing. So someone who's highly skilled, right? Someone who's a software developer has to take their time and go and fix the test. Okay? Because this right here, right? This right here, not everyone can write this. This is shit that a software developer writes. So as soon as they say, you know what, I don't want it to have a button anymore. I just want it to be, I don't know, they scroll or something, that changes the count. I don't know. What I'm trying to tell you is that like testing, it takes a lot of time in terms of resources of a developer, right? And then if you add the constant requirement to change your application, make it sexy, make it have an additional feature, there's a whole other level of complication to the process.
Typically, what order would you do this? So like, let's say in a larger company, you'd say, right, do you build the test before you build the project, or you build the project and build the test? Or is it like it's fluid and it's
So the whole school,
on like what someone's doing?
so that's what I'm trying to say. Like this is a whole like school of thought here. It's called test-driven development. And what they say is that, yeah, you write the test first. Just like what I've been showing you guys. I wrote a test first, right? Did I not write these tests first? I said, hey, it has to have an H1. So like, what does H1 do? You know what? We should get that something better. Prompts the user where they're at. Okay? So where are they at? They're at the counter app. Yep. That's what it does. Okay? So this is kind of like what is the idea is that you're constantly testing your application. And like, you know, it's doing the behavior that you expect, and this will get more sophisticated. I wanted to show you guys some better examples. I've only got a couple now, but just know like the reason why I'm like I can't show you any examples is because like if you look at, for example, right here for use effect, obviously one of the most important uses that there are. We only showed you guys use state and use effect, right? Right? We only showed you guys use state and use effect. These other ones matter, but like only in certain situations. But use effect, it still has an issue. Facebook, the team at Facebook has not yet figured out how to fix this, or they have not yet had the time to fix this. One or the other. As of 7 days ago, they're still talking about what they're supposed to do in a certain situation. Blah blah blah. Read through it. If you guys wanna, you know, go work at Facebook, you probably need to read this. You may if you work on this team and understand what the problem is with the code. Okay, so let's just make sure that the counter works correctly. Okay. So we've proven that the application will load without failing. We've proven that the application will prompt the user. We will prove that it will have a prompt for the number, and we prove that we've gotten a button. So now let's prove that if the user clicks on the button, if they click on that button, that the count will increase. So increments count if the button is clicked. Okay, so we gave it a description, and now it's time to write our expectation. So we expect, no, my bad. First off, we need to find the button. So we say const button equals wrapper dot find button. And I don't remember how to do this. So I'm gonna look at my code and I'm gonna give it to you guys later. We found the button. Oh, we just run simulate click. Okay, sweet. And then we do simulate. Okay, first we find it. Then do button dot simulate click. Does that work? Okay. So then we got to do button dot update. I think it works. My bad. Wrapper dot update. There's a whole bunch of rules to this. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. You guys tell me a better way to write this. I'm gonna copy this one piece right here. Okay. So then we expect a. So we found the wrapper, right? We set up our app. We set up our test. We found the button. Inside of the button, afterwards we clicked on the button. We updated the wrapper, right? We basically made the effects of the button click action apply, and then we made an assertion. Okay, so we said, hey, inside of here, find the button. Actually, we need to fix this right here. And we expect its text to be what? My bad, we're not supposed to be finding the button. What should we be finding?
The result.
The count, right? So we're gonna fix this. I fucked this up. So we're gonna look, so after we click on that button, right? Okay, nice. So can you guys, someone help me like think about this, man? Someone help me, please. Why does it say it expected 2, but it received 0? Let's just make it pass, okay? If I change this to 2, will this work? And it works. If I go to the page right now, I click on the button, will there be a 2 in there afterwards?
Yes. They're not linked, but yes.
So let's go ahead and test. I'm going to run up my application. Okay, whoops, I should have put something in there. Increment. Okay, so what's the test saying? What's it saying right now? The test is saying, hey, when the application first loaded, I found the button. I clicked on it one time, I updated, and then I found that what? It was equal to 2. So I open the application, I click it one time, and it is in fact 2. That is why this test is passing. Okay, it's passing right here, because after you clicked on it, there was a 2 in there. Why is there a 2 in there? Okay, so now does our count work? Does our counter work, guys? This amazing app here, does it work? Let's think about this. No, it is not working. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna fix it.
According to the test, it's working, right? Because it gives you 2.
I know what I'm trying to tell you is, like, I'm trying to give you an overall understanding of how testing works. One thing. Secondly, I'm trying to show you that this is a stupid test. Okay? Because this test is passing, but our app doesn't do anything, and it doesn't do anything reasonable, right? It says it's passing when it's not, right? And it's passing on something that it's actually not a real. It's very easy to write bad tests. Okay? I'm telling you, it's very easy to write stupid tests. So in conjunction, think about that, man. We just broke our 2 previous tests. Fuck. Oh, my bad, I broke that earlier. Let me put this here. Say that one. And we broke this one. Fuck. Okay, so let's make a real assertion now, okay? If we click on that button, what do we expect to have happen? We start with 0. If I click on this button, what do I expect to have happen? Yes. So we're going to say, we're going to change this test. We're going to expect it to go up by 1. And you guys will notice that this assertion right here on line 34, it changed. It expected a 1, but it received a 0. Why did it receive a 0? Because it can never ever be anything else right now. Someone please help me write this so that this can work.
Button on click needs to run a function. Called increment, let's say. Define a function above the app.
Well, I don't want you to use document. Right now we should be using React and some of the things that React does. So we're going to import useState. Incredible. So now we've proven that this app works. Our test says it worked. Who thinks it will work now? All right, let's see if this works. It works. So now we've built a fully tested application, guys. Thank you for helping me. Thank you. is as you can see, our testing it takes a lot of time. It takes knowledge of a bunch of different things, but at the end of the day, like this is nowhere near enough. Yeah, like you guys can spend a whole year working on this. This is not enough. You guys don't know how to test security, penetration, scalability. There's so many different types of testing. Types of software testing. There's unit testing, integration testing, system, sanity, smoke, interface, regression, acceptance. It's ridiculous. Load testing, right? Can your server take 100,000 hits per second? I guarantee you Facebook's can. You make a Facebook request. It's stressing how it's like stressing how much your server can take. How many different people can log into your chat app and talk at the same time without everything failing?
Yeah, it's like how many people can upload an image or download an image all at once at any one time.
How many systems server can handle?
It's a complicated field because certain things that you cannot have fail. If certain things fail, people die, right? For example, like rocket science, all types of testing, like just a lot of stuff. So that's what we're gonna build today, guys. So far we built one, 2, 3, 4, 5 tests. Okay, we built 5 tests if we include these sum tests right here. So I want you guys to build these tests. Okay? Do you have any questions? Just prove that you can click on the button. Click that button, it works correctly. And prove that we see a prompt and prove that button, it will change. Do you have any questions? You guys need to read the documentation. It's impossible to do this correctly without reading the documentation. So I suggest you guys.
Airbnb.io, is that?
It's one of their subdomains. Just go to here, and I got it right here.
Yes.
You guys got to read through this, okay? Click around, man. You guys got to read this. Just know that Jest is a framework that works outside of React. It works with many libraries. Enzyme is a library that does not need to work with React, but it does need, like, they just work together, but they're not like, but they have other girlfriends, kind of like that. They're together, but they have other girlfriends on the side. Okay? All right, so you guys get going.